In the modern world, power doesn't flow through oil pipelines or military arsenals. Power flows through data. And if you believe the vast, interconnected world of big tech was built purely by ambitious college dropouts and venture capitalists, you have been profoundly misled. There is a terrifying pattern in history that reveals how every seismic shift in human control has been engineered. Not by the market, but by the state. And the current digital landscape is no different. You were told Mark Zuckerberg was building a social network. You were told Larry Page and Sergey Brin were building a search engine. They were not. They were building something far more profound, far more valuable, and far more insidious. What if the biggest, most influential tech companies on the planet, the ones that know your thoughts, your purchases, and your location, were not the product of Silicon Valley optimism, but the ultimate covert project? They weren't selling ads. They were building surveillance. The infrastructure of your life, your work, and your democracy was designed, funded, and fostered by the very agencies tasked with intelligence and war. DARPA, the Pentagon, and the CIA. Three nations ignored the same warning signs of centralized control. The fourth won't survive them. And this time, it's happening again. This is the central thesis of the intelligence economy. It's a concept that defines the new global order, the formal, yet largely invisible, merger between national security objectives and corporate technological infrastructure. The old world separated the military-industrial complex from the civilian market. The intelligence economy sees them as one. The currency of this new economy is data. And just as the great oil barons of the last century extracted petroleum from the earth, the intelligence agencies of this century establish the corporations that extract information from you. We are not talking about simple outsourcing. We are talking about architectural design. The CIA's venture capital arm In-Q-Tel was not founded to find the next great app. It was founded to ensure that critical, cutting-edge technology was developed in service of U.S. national security and then seamlessly integrated into the intelligence community's operations. They don't wait for innovation to happen. They direct it. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is a demonstrable historical pattern. We need to look back at two specific moments, two distinct stories of technological creation. 2. Understand how the architecture of control was first built and then commercialized. Let's see how it played out, where the initial designs were laid, and where we are right now in the terrifying sequence. The story begins not in the counterculture of the 1990s, but in the existential fear of the Cold War. In the late 1950s, after the Soviet launch of Sputnik, the U.S. government, specifically the Department of Defense, needed a technological edge. The solution was DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. DARPA's mission was simple: create a communication network that could survive a nuclear strike. It had to be decentralized, no central target to destroy. This led to ARPANET, the direct ancestor of the Internet. It was a massive public expenditure, driven entirely by military necessity. The goal was resilience and secure communication, not connecting friends. The critical phase came in the late 1980s and early 1990s. The government decided to privatize ARPANET. It handed the core technology and the operational control over to the commercial sector. This moment was framed as a victory for capitalism and freedom. But the fundamental architecture, the original design for tracking and routing information across decentralized nodes, remained the same. A system built for military command and control was simply given a civilian veil. The result was the modern Internet. It feels free and open, but its foundation is rigid, centralized, and designed for surveillance. The moment the technology became civilian, the military's need for data didn't vanish. It just found a more efficient way to collect it through the commercial giants. If the Internet was the design of the intelligence economy's highway, the next phase was the creation of its ultimate vehicle, the data alchemist. After the shock of 9/11s, the intelligence community faced a new problem: an overwhelming flood of information. They lacked the tools to connect the dots and predict threats in real time. This is where In-Q-Tel enters the frame. Founded in 1999, In-Q-Tel is a non-profit corporation designed to invest the CIA's capital into technology that matters. Their goal was to bridge the gap between Silicon Valley speed and Langley security needs. One of their most famous early investments was a company co-founded by Peter Thiel, Palantir Technologies. Palantir's mission, funded heavily by In-Q-Tel and intelligence agencies, was to build software that could aggregate, visualize, and analyze massive amounts of disparate data connecting cell phone pings with bank transfers and social media interactions with travel documents. This was the ultimate tool for prediction and total information awareness. Palantir didn't stay locked away in a government vault. It became a multi-billion-dollar corporation, offering its tools to banks, police forces, and private enterprises. The technology designed to hunt terrorists was now being used to track consumer habits, predict fraud, and even manage corporate supply chains. The intelligence economy was complete. The technological tools of state security were now commercially available, blurring the line between national surveillance and corporate profiling. And they all made the same mistake. They focused on building a powerful machine without considering the inherent corruption of total knowledge, the same one we're making right now. The pattern is clear. State security needs dictate technological innovation, and we're still living in their architecture. The intelligence economy is not random, follows a predictable, repeatable life cycle. Every empire that has sought total control through technology from Rome to the Soviet Union followed the same sequence. And once you see the 5 stages, you can't unsee them. Here are the 5 stages of the intelligence economy. Stage 1. State necessity. It begins with an existential threat or a major crisis. The state determines that existing civilian technology is insufficient. The security apparatus requires radical innovation that only massive government funding can deliver. Stage 2. Covert funding and design. Military or intelligence agencies pour capital into the research. Crucially, the technology is designed from the outset with state needs in mind: centralized access, data aggregation, and scalability for surveillance. Stage 3. The civilian veil. The technology is spun off and packaged for the public. It is given a friendly face, a search engine, a social network, or a cloud service. The public embraces it for convenience, unaware of the architectural blueprints beneath the surface. Stage 4. Data monetization. The private company's official business is selling advertising or subscriptions. But its true product, the core asset that the intelligence economy desires, is the constant, granular stream of behavioral and social data from every user. Stage 5. Strategic integration. The corporation becomes so large, so intertwined with national infrastructure, that it effectively becomes a 4th branch of government. It is too big to fail and too critical to dissent. The state's power and the corporation's technology become inseparable. This pattern is not theoretical. It is the history of the modern world. And right now, for the vast majority of big tech, we've already completed 4 of them. This is the mirror moment. The patterns established in the Cold War and post-9/11's era are now the operational reality of our daily lives. Look at Google Alphabet. Its very existence is tied to government funding. Its algorithms, which filter the world's information, didn't just win a business competition. They succeeded in a state-sponsored challenge to organize and retrieve data on a global scale. This is Stage 3. The civilian VELA-friendly interface masking a massive, systematic information control mechanism. Look at Amazon Web Services, AWS. It holds a multi-billion-dollar contract with the CIA to host its most sensitive cloud data. This is not simply a commercial relationship. It is an integration of national security infrastructure with a private company. AWS's immense data centers are the government's digital vaults. This is the definition of Stage 5, strategic integration. Stage 5, check. And what about Meta Facebook? Its power is not in selling ads. It's in its ability to map social relationships, predict societal sentiment, and shape public opinion on a planetary scale. This capability, the ability to identify key influencers, track political dissent, and even conduct mass psychological operations, is the holy grail of intelligence. The social network is the perfect intelligence architecture, and its monetization is the perfect cover. Stage 4. Check. The public debate over antitrust and breaking up big tech is a distraction. The conflict is framed as monopoly when the real problem is integration. These corporations have become too essential to national security to ever be truly dissolved or regulated. When the U.S. government runs a national debt nearing $34 trillion, while its technological infrastructure is controlled by a handful of unelected private entities, it signals a loss of democratic control over the very nervous system of the nation. The historical pattern holds firm. The state is paying for control with its future solvency. If the pattern continues, the consequences are predictable, terrifying, and final. The intelligence economy will cease to be an economic model and become a system of social control. Your data will not merely be used to sell you a product. It will be weaponized. Your credit score will be linked to your political posts. Your movements will be monitored not just for crime, but for dissent. Innovation will slow to a crawl because the system rewards integration and obedience, not disruption. The separation between the public and private spheres will dissolve completely. The ability to dissent, to think freely, or to organize outside the established digital channels will simply vanish. The system will be too effective, too ubiquitous, and too deeply integrated into every corner of life. When empires fall, the shift is never slow and gradual. It is sudden, brutal, and final. This time, the collapse won't look like burning cities. It will look like the silent, permanent lockdown of information and thought. Maybe, just maybe, recognizing the architecture of our own cage will allow us to dismantle it. But history says otherwise. The intelligence economy doesn't fall, it merely integrates. It replaces freedom of thought with the efficiency of control until the architecture of surveillance becomes the air we breathe. The next time you open your phone, remember the architects. The biggest lie of the intelligence economy is that convenience is free. It is not. You are not the customer of these vast digital empires. You are, and always have been, the product, and that product was designed in the shadow of the Pentagon, not the sunlight of Silicon Valley. The tools meant to keep a nation secure became the tools that now monitor its every citizen.